Welcome to the RadioU podcast. Coming up, you'll never guess which country is working on a robot army.
Also, Jordon Hudson is not happy about the results of her Miss Maine competition.
All that and more on the way next. Here's a new little segment we like to call, we haven't given it a name yet, but this is the first time we're doing it. This is for the podcast people only.
Yeah, it's for the pod people.
We just want to spend some time, just us and you, and not have something where it's something we talked about on the radio already. This is coming up in the podcast later on. You'll hear us talking about some of the pettiest icks that we've had for other people. But Allie, I think it's time for some self-evaluation right now. We need to look in the mirror and say, what are the icks that we are guilty of?
Okay.
What would other people see us do and go, that's an ick?
Yeah.
And don't say everything that I do.
Well, I wasn't thinking of everything.
No.
That'd be awful. I think for me, it'd probably have to be, I love sports a lot. And for some people, that can certainly be an ick. I don't let it control my life, and I don't get depressed over sports. Like if my team loses, at the end of the day, it's a game. So I don't think I'm like a toxic fan, but I certainly, in the moment, when a game is happening, I can get a little passionate and like talk to myself and be like, why are we doing this? Like, the Cavs just recently lost to the Pacers.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm like, call a timeout, Kenny. Call a timeout. Call a timeout.
Audibly, out loud?
Yeah. And
alone in your home?
By myself with my cat. And so I'm like, maybe that's a little icky, maybe?
That could be getting a little too intense with it.
Yeah.
Could be an ick. When we did talk about some of the biggest icks, somebody texted and we didn't get to talk about this on the show, but they said an ick for them is seeing other people lick their fingers.
Oh, yeah, that's gross.
And I definitely do that. I mean, I try to be kind of, I don't always do it discreet is a great way to describe it. In public, for sure. But if I'm eating a bag of Cheetos at home and it's just the two of us, I'm going to be licking my fingers and there's nothing you can do to stop me. And so if that's an ick, so be it.
I'm the weirdo that goes and washes my hands.
You wash your hands after eating Cheetos.
Yep.
That's an ick.
Well, I just don't like any of the Cheeto stuff to like stain my nails.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, that's bound to happen.
Yeah,
that's just part of the fun of eating Cheetos.
Why I don't eat Cheetos very often.
Well, you can send in, maybe there's icks that we do that we don't even know about. I'm sure that there is.
I think that's for the most part probably what would be an ick. I guarantee, because even my sports thing, like I do that when I'm by myself. So I'm not going to do that in front of somebody. And I do it like very low key. I'm not like yelling at the TV like some people do. I'll just be like, call a timeout, Kenny, or whatever. But yeah, so I think that's absolutely true. We probably have stuff that we do that we just don't even realize.
If we're ready for it, let us know what we do that icks you out, if that's even a thing, at 877-2-RADIO-U or mornings@radiou.com. Enjoy the rest of the pod. It's our Monday tradition, the box office breakdown, looking at what made money and what didn't in theaters over the weekend. Of course, let us know what you've seen lately at 877-2-RADIO-U. We'd be happy to hear your reviews. Number one at the box office, not something particularly new. I mean, it came out a week ago. It was Thunderbolts.
All right.
Thunderbolts hangs around at the top.
2 weekends in a row. That's pretty good.
Good for Marvel. It made another $33 million in North America. That has it at $128 overall. And get this, Allie, in 2 weeks, it's already made enough money to be the fourth biggest release of the year.
Yeah, that's not a good sign for the box office of 2025. But also that total of what you gave for the domestic total, Marvel can't be ecstatic about that. Like, that's good. It's okay, but it's not great.
I mean, it's doing better than Captain America did. The new Captain America earlier this year.
A really low bar.
Yeah, not exactly. But, I mean, it's 2 weeks. It's the fourth best movie of the year already. It's going to keep on going. There's not a whole lot standing in its way, and people seem to like it. So
yeah, I was hoping it was going to do better than that. I mean, I was hoping it was going to have a similar, like, second weekend, like what with what we saw Sinners do, where it like barely dropped, because the word of mouth for Thunderbolts has been so good.
Yeah, but it did have a 55% drop, which is a bit, that's steep. We've seen steeper for Marvel, but that's a little steep. Speaking of Sinners, that was number 2. Okay. That's been out for 4 weeks now. It still made another $21 million in North America, and it is now well over $200 million in North America alone.
Pretty good.
So obviously, that's one of the 3 movies that's still ahead of Thunderbolts so far in 2025. And then one of the other ones is Minecraft, a Minecraft movie, which was number 3 with another $7 million. Ali, what have you seen as of late?
I was in a John Hughes mood over the weekend.
Oh, that's a good mood.
Yes. So I watched 16 Candles, which I don't know how long it's been on Max. It might have just recently been added. But I was just scrolling through some of the movies they had, and I was like, 16 Candles. I feel like watching that. So if you don't know John Hughes, one of the best directors. I mean, his work is beloved in American culture.
Even for the majority of people that were born after he definitely retired or died or whatever, like he's dead now, right?
I have no idea.
Pretty sure, but because he has not made movies in a long time. But everybody would know Home Alone, and that's John Hughes.
Home Alone, Breakfast Club. So many of those like 1980s, films are so good.
Yeah. My favorite, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Probably my favorite movie of all time. And the only Thanksgiving movie. I watched Poker Face. I'm now all 3 episodes of this new season I've seen. And so Poker Face, I don't understand why I like it. Because scientifically it doesn't make sense. It's a show where it's one of those shows, it's kind of a send up to old classic shows like the detective shows where you see the murder at the beginning or the crime. And so you already know who did it. There's no mystery, but then it's just like, how is Natasha Lyonne's character going to figure out?
So it's like Columbo.
Yeah, exactly. It's meant to be like, an homage to those. So in every episode, there is a through line that's been through the entire 2 seasons. But you could watch any episode standalone, which I appreciate that as well.
Yes.
They really don't have much to do with each other. The episodes are a little hit or miss. Like some are better than others. And everyone has a guest star, which is fun. I guess that's what kind of makes it fun. But at the same time, I'm not watching because, I like Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah.
But I'm not watching an episode because he's in it.
Yeah.
That's not why I enjoy it. It does add some fun. But so there's no mystery to it. It's not like... It's well written, but it's not like funny, it's not a comedy. There's scientifically, I cannot comprehend what it is about Poker Face that just makes it an enjoyable, good time to watch.
Interesting. I feel like you really are describing Columbo.
Yeah.
Just it's the new version
of it. A modern Columbo, yeah.
Because Columbo, I think you could make the same argument. Why did we enjoy it so much? There was no mystery to it, but it was just fun watching him figure it out. And
also,
I would argue he was quite funny.
There was only 6 shows at the time, so you didn't have as much to choose from. Now there's so many things.
I don't know if there's only 6 shows at that point in time, but
6 channels. 8772 RadioU. Let us know what you've seen lately. We want to hear your reviews. Why do we like Poker Face? How do we explain this? That's your box office breakdown today. Tony Hawk's birthday. The famous skateboarder turns 57. Your useless knowledge question of the day, all about Tony Hawk. When he was growing up, he had to choose between skateboarding and the instrument that he had been playing and gotten apparently good at. What instrument did Tony Hawk play as a child that he had to give up so he could pursue skateboarding? 8772 RadioU. Ali, a lot of good guesses coming in, like saxophone, guitar, obviously would be the obvious one, accordion, drums. What is your guess?
Well, I was also going to guess drums because I was like Tony Hawk, skateboarding, rock and roll, maybe that fits. But then you gave me a little hint by saying, and I don't know if you were actually trying to give a hint or maybe trying to throw me off, who knows, but you were like, would this instrument have been as popular if he stuck with it, or would it have gained more popularity?
Maybe it would have its own video game.
Right, and you were like, I don't think so. So I'm like, maybe it's not a popular instrument, and I feel like drums are kind of popular. So I'm going to go with an off-the-board guess of The recorder.
How can you get good at playing the recorder?
I don't know.
Turn that into anything.
The piccolo.
That's for like first graders.
Just anything that's like wind ensemble.
Yeah, a woodwind.
Yeah.
Or some brass. Bella got this one right, believe it or not. Whether she knew it or it was a very lucky guess, I'm not sure. But the correct answer is violin.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Tony Hawk could have gone the violin direction. Who knows where he would be now?
That's actually sick. I love that.
Yeah, you wouldn't have guessed. Not many people got that right. Although some people did say accordion, which also you wouldn't guess. So.
No.
But yeah, who knows how things would be different. Also, speaking of Tony Hawk, hey, if he had chosen violin, maybe he would have been one of the first people to ever violin in the White House. But instead, in 2009, do you care? He skateboarded in the White House.
Wow.
He was invited by then President Barack Obama to the White House, and he actually did skate in the halls of the old executive office building.
That's wild.
Yeah, probably the second person ever to skateboard in the White House after Dick Cheney, of course. That's not true.
I was going to say, is that a known fact?
I just like to picture Dick Cheney on a skateboard in the and George W. Bush is like, would you get off of that thing? We got work to do.
I don't think that would have gone well.
And that was the worst George W. Bush impression of all time.
Not George Bush.
Congratulations to Jordon Hudson, Bill Belichick's much younger girlfriend, but there's more to her than that. She also just finished third in the Miss Maine pageant over the weekend, which I think that's worth celebrating. Good job to her.
We're
8772 Radio U.
Yeah, we're celebrating until you realize she ended up one less, or one worse than she did last year. She got runner-up last year.
She fell down in the rankings.
Yeah.
There are now two women in Maine that are better than her for some reason or another.
Better looking or whatever, yeah. So we don't know exactly what the judges were thinking. Probably thinking that she was crazy like all the rest of us have thought over the past week.
That is, there might be some validity to that, especially because not only did she finish third in the, judged pageant, she also did not fare well in the fan vote.
Oh, no.
She came in seventh in the fan vote.
Ugh.
So, which you do, although they call it a fan vote, you have to pay $1, I think, to vote.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You have to pay to vote for that?
Yeah.
That's kind of ridiculous.
It's probably like a donation or something.
Yeah.
Whatever. But
I do believe, I don't know, was this a part of the Miss USA pageants that is across the United States?
I don't know. So there's Miss USA, right?
Yeah.
There's Miss Universe. There's Miss whatever else.
Well, this definitely has to be United States because it's you're going to be Miss Maine. Right?
Yeah.
So you're representing your state.
I guess so, yeah.
So, and not your country. I don't know how it all works.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I just don't know how they all connect to each other, how they're related, and what the pipeline is like,
right. But either way, I do know that they do, and they make a big deal out of this and a joke in the Miss Congeniality movies. Mm-hmm. But I do know it's true that they do have scholarships that they give to a lot of the women that compete and to go to college and all of that. So
but she's 24, so...
I think most of them are much younger than that that compete for these pageants.
So she's still hanging on to a dream that passed her by 4 years ago.
Maybe you need to give this up, Jordon.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe you should just focus on annoying people that are trying to interview Bill Belichick. Because you seem to be really good at that. Did you also see there's so much goodness from this.
There really is.
There was a Q&A segment, and one of the things she said was hate never wins, and then she didn't win. So does that mean she is hate?
Ooh.
Makes you think.
They're like, all right, so you're not winning, Jordon.
Yeah. Did you also see that Bill Belichick, who was there?
Yeah.
Here's something to mess with your mind. Bill Belichick there, 73 years old, sitting with Jordon Hudson's father, who's in his 40s. Imagine being Jordon Hudson's dad.
Yeah.
That has to be odd, sitting with Bill Belichick.
It said that they were talking amiably with each other. They were having a good conversation from the looks of it. So it's they get along.
Yeah.
And Bill Belichick could be his dad. That's how much of an age gap there is between them.
I mean, if I was with Bill Belichick, I would want to be like that too. But it's just weird that he's so much, having your daughter's boyfriend be 30 years your senior.
Right.
It's kind of crazy.
Be your dad.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
To me, that's much weirder than them just being together.
Yeah.
Is her dad.
Yeah, also being in the situation.
Experience that. Also, when Bill Belichick interacted with Miss Massachusetts, who was there, he kissed her on the cheek.
Oh, no.
And she actually is a winner. So, and Bill Belichick, he loves to win.
He likes winners.
Yeah, could there be trouble on the front?
Maybe he'll get together with the actual Miss Maine.
Yeah, maybe. Which, by the way, we should also mention that somebody won the Miss Maine pageant.
Yes.
She's just getting ignored. Her name is Shelby.
Good job, Shelby.
Yeah, congratulations. Did you see this guy over the weekend going viral on TikTok, complaining about how much it costs to go to Disney World? 8772 RadioU. He's got a lot of views with his boo-hooing. He claims that it cost about $1,400 for him and his wife and 3 children to attend Disney World for one day. About $900, almost $1,000 of that was the tickets. And then I guess they spent another $400 or $500 elsewhere, probably on food and parking and blah, blah, blah. And he just says it's not worth it. And I'm mad that Disney costs so much.
Honestly, I agree with him, and I don't think this is controversial at all. I think we've known this for a while, that Disney is overpriced. And I feel like for those of us that don't live close to Disney, it's even more overpriced because you're forced into having to find a place to stay nearby. And you want to make the most of your time there, so you go for the longer stay and the longer days in the park. And then you're spending even more money in the park. And so it's just like every time I hear people talk about their Disney trip, I'm seeing, I'm hearing cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching in my head.
Yeah.
And it's like racking up thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to be able to go, especially as a family.
Yeah. I think 2 things can be true. One is it is ridiculously expensive to go to Disney World. This has been a complaint as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, it's forever.
I hear people talk about going to Disney, and I'm like, wow, you can afford that?
Right.
Like, how? Like, when did you win the lottery? But also, this has been a complaint since as long as I've been alive, and probably since before. So I don't really have a lot of, if you're going to go on.
It's nothing new. It's nothing new.
Yeah, so I don't know why this guy feels like he's so special or why this was a shock to him. He was complaining too. He's like, it would have been much more cost effective for us to go for a longer period of time and not just go for a day. And so I don't know if he used the word discriminated against, but he's like, Disney doesn't want people going for a single day. I don't know. I feel like they just want you to spend a lot of money either way.
Just want you to come in. But it's true. You do get discounts if you go for the longer stay and get, the multi-day passes versus the single-day passes. But even the single-day passes are, or even the multi-day passes, are
it's still expensive. It's still going to add up, and so that's just a choice. It's a choice you have to make. Are you willing to have this lasting memory for you and your 3 kids? Is $1,400?
Lasting memories of being in line.
Yeah, he's sweating in the sun. Is that worth it to you? You're always going to remember. I mean, I went to Disney. Did I go 2 or 3 times when I was a kid? Either way, I always remember it. I don't remember the whole time everything we ever did, but it was a memorable trip. It's a memorable thing. And so, yes, it's too expensive, but people have always complained about that, and Disney's still standing, still building new buildings there.
Yes. I will say, though, as a person that enjoys like roller coasters and rides, I think it's much more worthwhile to find a local amusement park in your own state to go to. And if you live in Florida, there's plenty of them. You don't necessarily have to go to Disney or Universal.
Yeah.
You can go to Busch Gardens or something else. You'll get much cheaper prices. In my opinion, you'll ride more rides because the lines are less long, not as long as Disney. And also, the rides actually are better.
It depends on what you want.
Than what Disney has to offer.
If you want coasters and thrill rides, Disney is not the place to go.
It's not the spot.
Definitely not. Last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Ali's Cleveland Cavaliers, dealt a crushing blow They are now down 3-1. The Pacers blew them out last night.
Indeed.
And that's not the only thing that got blown out. Apparently, Donovan Mitchell's ankle as well. He left the game at halftime, right?
Yeah, he was warming up at halftime, and they actually showed the replay during the game of him warming up. And he just made a wrong move as he was going for a three, wobbled, and then went over to hobbled over to the trainer and sprained his ankle and did not play another minute last night after that.
After they were down 80-39 at halftime. 41-point lead, sprained my ankle sometimes too, you know.
He is getting an MRI. I do believe it's a true ankle sprain, not like a fake, I don't want to play in this game anymore type of deal.
I don't know. I think the thing that was really injured was his pride.
I think everybody who's either a Cleveland fan on that team certainly had injured pride after last night. You had an amazing win Friday. Donovan Mitchell went off on Friday, and then you come back and you look like this. They looked as if they were playing with a 3-1 lead in the series, not as if, hey, if we lose this game, this series is over, which I honestly feel like it is.
Yeah, you're not going to win 3 straight against the Pacers, who are playing very well.
Yeah.
Well enough to have, they obviously won the game, but that halftime lead, 41 points, tied for the biggest NBA playoff halftime lead of all time.
They could have shot a ball from the locker room and it would have gone in. The shots they were making were absolutely insane, and Cleveland just was not making anything. They weren't making any threes. There were twos that were going in, from the free throw line that would have been like the normal shots to make, and they would rattle around and then bounce out. So it was just not their night. There was like a lid over the bucket for them, especially in the first half.
Yeah. So now Donovan Mitchell, he didn't have like a walking boot or a limp or anything when he left the stadium last night, and he says he'll be ready to go on Tuesday. It sounds like so. He should be good to go. It sounds like.
Yeah, well, good to go for a great loss in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Which is what we will see on Tuesday night.
I don't know. They might get the game in Cleveland, but they're not winning the series.
Yeah, if they get the game in Cleveland, that would be a nice little thing for the fans.
Yeah.
That's about it.
The Pacers might let them have it.
No, I don't think the Pacers know, and I think this is why they played so hard last night. The Pacers knew if they lost that game last night to Cleveland, the series totally shifted. They played with a Game 7 mentality last night. Cleveland, I turned the game on because I got home late last night. I turned the game on. They were already down by 12 points.
Yeah, you turned it on, turned it right back off.
No,
you said, not tonight.
I unfortunately watched that game. Unfortunately.
We need your verdict on this one at 8772 Radio U. A woman in the UK suing her former employer for what equals to over $30,000. Why? Because her coworkers compared her to Darth Vader during a team building exercise.
What?
Here we go. Lorna Rook is her name. She used to work at a blood donation center. At that blood donation center, her team did a Star Wars-themed Myers-Briggs style personality test. While she was out taking a personal call, someone filled out the quiz for her and came back saying she was Darth Vader. And this hit her hard. Like an X-Wing straight to the exhaust port. She claims that this comparison made her feel like a workplace pariah, and she wound up resigning a month later. So the question is, should she be awarded anything from this company because of how she was treated there based off of this Darth Vader personality quiz incident?
No, this is absolutely ridiculous. You got your feelings hurt because of some other employee's actions? How is the employer supposed to be responsible for what this other employee did?
8772 Radio U. Let us know your verdict for this one. Imagine this happened to you. Imagine Allie. We started talking about her like she's Darth Vader. Could she sue Radio U and would she win? 8772 Radio U. We need your verdict on this one. Hannah says, I mean, if she was really acting like Darth Vader, then I think it's justified. But if someone is just being mean and it's not true at all, then no. But I don't think you should be able to sue an employer for a coworker's actions, especially if the employer didn't see the action as that serious.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But if they're not taking it seriously, isn't that their problem?
Well, maybe, but I just don't think the employee actions, and there has to be something written in there like, HR or some type of thing like we are not responsible for what is said or whatever. So, like if somebody maliciously libels you or something, like the employer cannot be held responsible for that, for what an employee does.
Alex says she should not get any compensation. Absolutely not. She says, a Star Wars themed team building exercise, someone is bound to get Darth Vader. I think if someone in her life went ahead and trolled her by telling her to sue over it, but there's no way her employer is held legally accountable for this, says Alex. Allie, you say no, but the judge in the UK said yes.
No way, they've already ruled on this?
Yeah, she's getting 28,000, almost 29,000 pounds, which is almost getting pretty close to $40,000.
Is that what she asked for?
I don't know exactly how much she asked for, but she's got a lot. That's like a year's wages.
Yeah, I was going to say,
probably.
That's not bad, but that's shocking. What did they give any reason as to why they ruled that way?
The employment judge said Darth Vader is a legendary villain of the Star Wars series, and being aligned with his personality is insulting.
Okay, but how is the employer responsible for that?
Do you think of the words that you would describe Darth Vader? Ruthless, very focused, goes after what he wants and doesn't let anybody stand in the way.
I told you
that's what this woman is doing.
Right. I told you this off the air. I would totally play into this. I'd be walking into work with the Imperial March playing. I would get some type of breath manipulator that can make me sound like Darth Vader when I'm talking.
Voice changer.
Get everybody a little scared of me. Really go Machiavellian with this. Like, she could have, and this lawsuit, as you pointed out, only proves that this was absolutely true.
What if, what if there wasn't any, what if nothing about her personality was Darth Vader, and it's just that she has the same voice as James Earl Jones?
Oh, man, then, I mean, that would be so cool.
Would it for a lady?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
It might be a little insulting. Well, the Radio U audience has ruled the employer not guilty, but the judge says otherwise. If you've ever gotten the ick, raise your hand and then look in the mirror because you're actually the problem. 8772 Radio U. According to, by the way, Allie did raise her hand right there. This is a new relationship study that has found that people that are more likely to get the ick are also much more likely to have narcissistic tendencies.
Ooh.
AKA, again, if you're getting the ick, especially more frequently when you're going on dates with people, that probably means that you're actually the problem. It's not them. It's you.
You're too picky or something.
Yeah, and you need to think about, how you're approaching things. Now, don't feel bad, though, because I do see here in this same study that about over 75% of people claim that they would likely eventually end a relationship over an ick. Like if they notice an ick, they would eventually end the relationship.
End it entirely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is that's a lot. But also, it's easier to say in a survey, if somebody wore flip-flops with jeans, I would end it with them eventually, than actually to do that if you were dating them. Like, there's probably other reasons you like them, but now that we just have this out there and we all understand we're all probably narcissists, let's talk some icks. Why don't we start sending some in? We'll open up the Radio U hotline.
8772 Radio U.
Pettiest icks, I want to know.
I will say I've never broken it off with someone because of an ick, but I certainly have a few that I've, experienced before. But I also think, we're quirky as humans.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to be, be like, I wonder why they do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then not, there's some that certainly you would want to break it off that could be considered deal breakers.
Yeah, there's icks and there's red flags. But the problem with icks, I feel, is that they pick at you, you know? Like they wear you down.
Yeah.
You see it one time and you're like, oh, that's
a little
off-putting.
odd. Yeah.
And then you see it over and over again and you really start to hate it. And it really sometimes turns into a red flag.
Big thing, yeah.
Yeah, so 8772 Radio U. Let us know some of the pettiest icks you can think of that you've experienced. Allie, I love this one from Brittany, who says, a guy didn't return my Tupperware.
No.
You baked him cookies or gave him leftovers or something and he didn't give it back.
That is not okay.
Oh, that's not a relationship ender, though.
I don't know.
Just ask for it back.
Well, it sounds like, the relationship probably ended and the Tupperware was not given back.
Yeah,
because if you were still in that relationship with that person, then, you would expect eventually you get your hands on the Tupperware. But it sounds like they're no longer together.
Yeah, because of the Tupperware.
Well, was it because of it, or is just like that's something that happened and now it's like it's a sad collateral damage thing?
This feels like almost like a personal attack, Allie. We also heard from she's from Melanie, who says he didn't believe in dinosaurs.
Oh no!
I believe in dinosaurs. I never dated anybody, Melanie. I believe in dinosaurs. I just don't believe that we know that we're putting them together right, basically.
Yeah, I don't have any strong opinions on dinosaurs.
And so, but that feels like, we could have butt heads over that.
Yeah, I believe
Melanie and I
believe they existed. Mm-hmm. We'll go with that. But
yeah.
I just don't think we know as much as some people
I don't have a lot of confidence in dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Allie, what are your icks that you're willing to share?
Well, I do remember for my last relationship, and again, I've never ended a relationship for an ick. I've just always been like, that's a little odd, but haven't been like, I need to bring this up in a conversation or end the relationship because of this. Because they're just, to me, they're just small little quirk things that annoy you a little bit, but aren't enough to end something. So the last one for my last relationship was he would often walk into a room singing a song.
And that's an ick?
Well, he would just be like, he'd be singing it to himself. So he would just be like walking into a room fully just in his own world, like, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'd be like, okay.
But don't you do that?
I don't think I do that.
You definitely are singing songs all the time.
I can be a little sing-songy, but I feel like this was like purposefully like out of the moment, like removing yourself from the moment.
I wonder if there is there's some psychological reason that you could maybe some of these icks actually come from somewhere. You know what I mean?
Or like it's something you do and you don't like it.
Yeah, maybe like something you don't like about yourself. I don't know.
But it was like, it would always be in front of a group of people. And I was like, okay, if it was just us, maybe I'd be less icked out about it. But the fact that it's a group of people and maybe we're trying to talk to you or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like a little bit, we're all like kind of looking at you like, what are you doing right now? Why are you singing?
I get that. I've never had a relationship where there was icks really involved necessarily. I've been on dates where I was like, oh no, this is an ick and it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's mostly like the one that sticks in my mind is facial expressions.
Oh.
There was a gal who like very nice and whatever. We went on one date, but her facial expressions gave me the ick.
Not good?
Yeah. I specifically remember her making a face that reminded me of Michigan J. Frog, the cartoon.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
Well, it's a frog, so just think of a frog that's not Kermit. Just big mouth, And it was like, this is an ick. Like her face, her normal face was nice.
Fine, yeah.
But it was the expressions she would make that was problematic for me.
I don't know if I could picture that, but okay.
With like a big frown. Like a really big frown. And how do you talk to somebody about that? You can't.
You can't. That's their face.
I think it was, I'm sure she had some icks with me too. So I'm sure it was mutual. We only went on one date for a reason, but that was the one. Also, I've never dated anybody like this, but this is like the classic ick to me is when you go in water and you hold your nose.
Oh, yeah.
That's like when I think ick, that's what I think of.
You think of that?
That's like the best example of an ick to me.
I don't know if I would agree that that's an ick. I remember one ick for a first date where it wasn't somebody I ended up dating. No eye contact. I can't do that.
That's tough.
Yeah.
What if they were just on the spectrum, though?
I don't know if they were, but I don't think this person was. I think they're just really shy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with that.
That's tough. That's tough. That'll be tough in job interviews for them, too. Probably. We have the RadioU hotline open.
877-2-RADIO-U.
Asking what is the toughest job in America. A new survey is out showing what Americans think is the toughest job, but what does RadioU think? Warning, though, if you send in what you think is the toughest job and it's your job, we are likely to point out why your job isn't very tough. And it's probably the same thing you've heard a million times over from other people that don't have the same job as you. For example, Tim said being a delivery driver or a daycare teacher, and he has experience in both. Oh, daycare teacher. Sounds real tough. You got to wipe boogers and give kids snack. Any job with nap time.
Well,
isn't tough.
If you don't like kids, I would imagine it's pretty tough for you.
Yeah, why would you even get into that? I'm sure, here's what I believe is true, that every job you think, when you do it, you know or you understand what's tough about it, and so you think it's tougher than anybody who hasn't had to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's true for delivery driver and for daycare teacher. D also says teacher. Or educator, because you are underpaid for what you have to do, and you have a lot of amateurs making up the rules that don't actually know how to do the job, bossing you around.
Interesting.
AKA, I guess, parents.
Parents.
Yeah.
Parents or just like people on the education board.
Yeah, I guess.
But also, I will say, I don't know what the criteria for the survey was, but I don't think pay was included in the toughness meter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, certainly you would think, not getting paid enough, it does make a job less desirable, but I don't know if it makes it harder.
Yeah.
Like the tasks itself.
Yeah,
harder.
I think we're talking about the actual work that you have to do. I will say, and this, I guess this makes it tougher. I don't know. Any job where you have like a lot of bosses. Yeah. And as a teacher, when every parent is your boss
technically,
in a way, that would be very stressful. And so one of many reasons that I wouldn't be a teacher and shouldn't be a teacher.
I definitely agree that it is a hard job, and certainly one that is admirable, that anyone that goes into that field deserves a lot of praise.
Yeah, definitely. William says he doesn't have a job that he claims is tough, but he's saying, is the job tough because are we talking about physically hard jobs or mentally hard jobs? Basically is what William says. And I think we're talking about both.
Both. And some combine both of those things, mentally and physically tough.
Well, they actually, in the survey, asked for descriptions of what makes a job challenging. Solving other people's problems all day with little to no help, so solo.
Yep.
Constantly making quick decisions and being stuck in stressful situations daily, and something that pushes your physical and mental limits. That's what makes a job tough.
Yeah.
The top of the list, construction worker.
Okay.
Number 1 for the toughest job. Dangerous at times, right?
Yeah.
It depends on what your role in construction is, right? Because I feel like the person holding the sign that says slow or stop, that doesn't sound like a tough job to me.
Yeah.
Actually, I know some people who have done that. Not exactly a tough job, but other kinds of construction, if you're a GC, that's probably a little tougher.
Right.
Firefighter was on the top of the list at number 2.
Firefighter?
Yep, firefighter. Military personnel, and then this one makes a lot of sense. Doctor was number 4.
Talk about quick decision making. Sometimes that is required. But also, I think it depends maybe on what type of doctor we're talking about.
I knew a guy that was a podiatrist, as in foot doctor.
Yep.
Feel like his that might not have been the toughest job compared to like oncology.
Brain surgeon.
Yeah. Surgeon versus doctor.
Yeah.
Definitely a big difference.
Big difference there.
Lots of pressure.
But I do think I would agree. And also, a tough industry to get into. Lots of hoops to walk through, which makes sense.
Stress to just get to be a doctor.
Yes, yeah. There need to be those hoops. Those hoops are important, but yeah, it takes a lot of work just to get into a position as a doctor.
Yeah, but yet again, radio host not on the list.
Not on the list.
Nowhere close.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
If it was, I don't think I would have chosen it. I specifically tried to avoid every job on this list because I'm not tough. France just dropped a little announcement. By 2040, they are aiming to have a fully operational robot army. 8772 RadioU. And when they say fully operational, we're talking not just look intimidating in a parade kind of army. We're talking about in the battlefield kind of robots that could be saving and taking lives. They say in the next 3 years, because this program is actually ahead of schedule, they might be able to have some of these robots on the field in the battlefield, assisting humans. And then by 2040, they want to have they want to be full robot.
Full robot. Wow. That's, I did not see this coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knew France would usher in the end of the world?
Right.
I guess.
Who knew France wanted this? I've always thought, France certainly was involved in many a war in their history, but I have not thought of France being like, yep, we need to worry about national security and let's do it with robots. I haven't even thought of this.
I wouldn't say there's countries with worse militaries, but I also don't think of France as a military power.
Yeah.
But if they can be the first country with a robot military, that sounds frightening.
Sounds
intimidating.
North Korean. Who are you, France?
Yeah. And the thing with technology, too, is I never want to be first. I want to be second because the first usually has issues.
They mess up a little bit.
Yeah. So I don't want to start seeing France out there, these robots on the battlefield, and they start malfunctioning, and who knows what happens, I can't even get my Roomba to stop yeeting itself off the stairs, and they're going to be putting robot armies together.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's still a lot of questions in my mind about the robot technology that's out there. Mm-hmm. We talked not too long ago about the half marathon that was run in China.
Yeah.
With the humanoid robots and how badly they performed against real humans. So I don't know if I fully buy into that it is much better than having a real human army. Mm-hmm. Or like drones, because drones have been a thing for a while.
Yeah.
And that seems to be working quite well.
Yeah. And you get into the ethical concerns of it all.
Sure.
You got a robot killing a real person.
Yeah.
Feels kind of wrong.
Definitely. Terminator-esque.
Yeah. But then, talking about the effectiveness, though, the robots that were in the Chinese half marathon didn't fare well. But have you seen those Boston Dynamics dogs, though? What if an army of robot dogs? Who says they have to walk on 2 feet?
Yeah, they could be dog-like. That's not, I guess. I don't know. Is that also a little bit wrong? For them to be dogs? Robot dogs.
That's just our way of coping with, of understanding them. But there could be any 4-legged animal.
And also it's a robot. In the military, so I guess that's not out of the question. Mm-hmm. But I even feel a little sad about that anytime those dogs get injured.
I guess, let me ask this. Would we feel safer in America if we had a robot army?
I think there's a reason the U.S. hasn't done this yet. I think
we know of.
I think most people would acknowledge that the U.S. is the military power of the world, and they haven't even done this yet.
That we know of. We have it, and it's secret, which is even scarier.
Thanks for listening to the RadioU podcast. Don't forget to rate and review the show.